Hello students, today we will discuss class 7th history chapter 2 Rise of New Kingdoms. So let's begin the chapter, and our first topic in this chapter is origin of the Rajputs. The word Rajput has its origin in the Sanskrit language. It comes from the word Rajputra, which means son of a king or ruler in Sanskrit. Historians and scholars differ about the lineage of the Rajputs. Some scholars believe that Rajputs were the descendants of Central Asian tribes, whereas most of the scholars agree that they belong to the Kshatriya clan. There are basically many important clans of Kshatriyas like Suryavanshi, Chandravanshi and Agnivanshi or Agnikula. You can see all symbols here. However, the Rajputs considered themselves to be a part of one of the clan. They believed that they were born from holy sacrificial fire and so-called Agnikula. Some Rajput believed they are successors of Sun family. That's why they called Suryavanshi. And those believe that they are successors of Chandra. They call themselves Chandravanshi. Let's learn about each of the clan and Rajputs in brief. The Tomars. The city of Dillika, nowadays we call Delhi, was founded by Tomar rulers in the 8th century. Later, the Chohans controlled their territory. The Chohans. The Chohans ruled around the areas of Delhi and Ajmer. They were also known as Chahamans. Prithviraj Chauhan was the most powerful and strong ruler among the Chauhans. And Chand Bardai's popular epic poem Prithviraj Raso also tells us about his valor and his fight with Muhammad Qari. The next Rajput rulers were Solankis. They ruled around the area of Gujarat, and the most powerful Solanki ruler was Siddha Raja. Gujarat was a major center of Indian Ocean trade, and Anhilwara was one of the largest cities during those times. The Solanki rulers were great patrons of art and architecture. They built magnificent temples. The Dilwara temple at Mount Abu and the Sun temple at Modhera were built by them. The Paramaras. They were very famous rulers who established their kingdom in the region around Malwa. The capital of Paramaras was at Dhar, and the Bhoj Parmara was the most powerful ruler. The famous Neelkanteshwar temple at Udaipur was also built by Parmaras. So student, this is how we are learning about the Rajput rulers, and the next Rajput ruler was Gehdewalas. Jayachandra was the king of Gehdewalas, and they ruled around the region of Kannauj, which was very fertile region that time. In 1194 Common Era, Mahmud Ghori defeated the Gehdewalas king Jayachandra. Now, the Chandelas of Bundelkhand. The Chandelas ruled around the Bundelkhand, and the most popular Chandela ruler was Kirtivarman. The capital city of Chandelas was Khajuraho, and it consists of many beautiful temples constructed there. As you can see, the Khajuraho temple, it was also built by the Chandela rulers. The Gujra and Pratiharas. They ruled over western India, parts of western and central Rajasthan, and some parts of central India. The most famous and powerful ruler of Pratihara dynasty was Nagbhatta I. He expanded his empire, and the other rulers who were very famous were Vatsa Raja and Bhoja. Raja Bhoja also established the largest empire in northern India. Kannauj was the capital of his empire, and he also issued silver coins with the mark of Varaha an incarnation of Lord Vishnu. That's why he also called Adi Varaha. Raja Bhoja was succeeded by his son Mahendra Pala, and there was a foreign traveler Al Masudi who testified the power and prestige of the Pratihara rulers and also patronized learning and literature of Pratihara rulers. The next Rajput rulers of northern India, Palas. The Palar dynasty was founded by the Gopala, and the unique feature of this kingdom was that they have a elected king that time. Dharampala and Devapala were two great Pala rulers. They built large empire and also faced many problems sometimes. But after the result, they were unable to extend their control and occupy Kannauj because the main cause of the struggle of Pala ruler was the rule over Kannauj. Kannauj was a symbol of power because it was very fertile region that time, and all of the kings and kingdoms want to annex Kannauj. The Tibetan account inform us that the Palas were the patron of Buddhism. The famous Vikramshila University of Bihar, as you can see in this picture, it was founded by Dharampala. The Palas had trade links with Southeast Asia and succeeded by the rulers of Sena dynasty in the 12th century. Later on, the Sen dynasty was defeated by the commander of Delhi Sultanate. So, these all were the northern India kings. Now, let's move to the southern part of India, the Deccan. The Deccan was a region between the rivers Krishna and Narmada, and this region was ruled by many dynasties. So, let's learn about these dynasties. Rashtrikutas. The Rashtrikutas came to power in the 8th century, and the most powerful king and the founder of Rashtrikuta dynasty was Danti Durga, or we can say Danti Varman. This dynasty is famous for the great warriors and administrators. The other famous kings of Rashtrakuta dynasty were Govinda, Amogvarsha and Krishna III. In the north, the Rashtrakutas fought against the Gujra and Pratiharas, and they also came in conflict with the Pallavas of Kanchipuram. And the students, the Rashtrakutas were very tolerant rulers. They were great patrons of art, architecture and literature. The beautiful Kailasa temple, as you can see in this picture, and the famous Elephanta Caves, those are at present near modern Mumbai. They were built by the Rashtrakuta rulers. Other kings, those ruled over the Deccan region, the Chalukyas. The Chalukyas of Kalyani were also known as later Chalukyas or Western Chalukyas, and the most famous ruler of this dynasty was Vikramanaka. The Kakatiyas. They lay between the Kakatiya kingdom, between the Krishna and Godavari rivers, and the rulers of this dynasty ruled from the 12th to 13th century. Their territories were taken over by the sultans of Delhi in the early 14th century. Kakatiya kings were followers of Shaivism and were great patrons of Sanskrit and Telugu languages. The Yadavas. Bhilamma founded the kingdom of Yadavas in 12th century. Their kingdom comprised the area between the Narmada and the Godavari rivers, and this kingdom was very famous for its trade, prosperity and riches. In the 14th century, the Yadava kingdom was annexed by the Khilji rulers. The Hoysalas of Devasamudra. The most powerful king of this empire was Vishnu Vardhan. He ruled over the region of present day Karnataka, and this kingdom was later taken over by the Delhi Sultanate. So, student, these all rulers and dynasties were ruled over the region of Deccan. Now, our next topic is the titles which were won by the great kings. In the early medieval times, the kings were powerful but not all powerful, as they shared their powers with their samantas as well as peasant groups, trade guilds, and brahmanas also. The kings wielded power and authority on all the matters, civil, military, and political also, with their help. At this time, many of the kings even adopted the great titles also, like Maharaja Dhiraj, Tribhuvan Chakravarti, and these titles have a great meaning also. Like Maharaja Dhiraj means a great king, and Tribhuvan Chakravarti means Lord of the Three Worlds. Our next topic is the tripartite struggle. During the early medieval phase of our history, the Rajput rulers and the non-Rajput rulers, those rule over the Deccan area, they constantly at war with each other, and the major cause of this war was Kannauj. You know why? Because Kannauj was situated in the Ganga valley, and this region was the very fertile and prosperous. For centuries, the rulers of Gujra, Pratihara, Rashtrikutas, and Palar dynasties fought for the control over Kannauj. And the main cause, as we discussed just, the wealth and resources of the city of Kannauj, because it is very fertile region of the Gangetic Valley. And the struggle between these three dynasties is suitably described as the tripartite struggle. But ironically, none of the three would hold Kannauj for long, as the Rashtrikuta were overthrown by the later Chalukyas, the Palas were under threat of the Cholas, and later overthrown by Sena dynasty. In the same way, the Pratihara dynasty broke and overthrown by another ruler. So, this long struggle weakened all the dynasties, and the riches of Kannauj also weakened and ultimately diminished all the three powers evolved. So, with this, we end up the part 1 of this chapter here, and we'll meet you in the second part of this